What's up, guys? This is Joe, and you are on the Entrepreneur Enthusiast podcast. Today, I have Moniqua Williams in here, and she is an incredible interior designer and designed the Fluent Solution podcast space and some other spaces. So, hey, Moniqua, how you doing?
What's up?
Okay, so
excited to be here.
Yeah. We've done a few here, thanks to you. Getting this place aesthetically well. And our goal here at Entrepreneur Enthusiast is to help younger entrepreneurs become more productive, become entrepreneurs, and get over that hump to say, hey, let me just go ahead and do it. And let me dive right in here. Did you always want to be an entrepreneur?
It's actually really funny. I come from a long line of family who are all entrepreneurs, so I feel like I've as a young child, I did a lot of different businesses I picked up of selling this or selling that. So I feel like it was always kind of like my journey to be an entrepreneur. I don't know if I necessarily knew what entrepreneurship was, but I was definitely.
What was the first thing you sold?
This first thing, I had a business where I sold meatballs.
Oh wow!
My mom
like the big meatballs.
Like they weren't even that big, to be honest. My mom, she worked in. I went in there. I was like, I'm gonna sell meatballs to like her coworkers, and of course I was like small and cute, and they were like, oh my gosh. So I literally just would sell meatballs, but it was funny because I actually wasn't making them. I would then just hire my mom to make the meatballs.
Oh wow! So how old were you?
I was probably like 10.
So you were outsourcing at 10 years old.
Outsourcing
at 10 years old.
At 10 years old, me and my cousins also did a project where we took glue.
Yeah.
And we had like hard books. We put the glue on it and then we let it dry. With our markers, painted the glue, and then we sold them in the streets. And we were like, there are these cool futuristic things. Like we just completely made it up. And
I was making money.
So I was always about making money or just having people give me money because I'm like, hey, I'm small. I was super tiny, and people. What
was the first business that you would say I'm starting? Like not a hustle. This is what I'm gonna come in. I'm gonna start this business.
I would say my first business was my accessory line. I just decided that my job wasn't fulfilling me as far as being a designer. So I was like, you know what, I want to find. Actually, I have to take a step back. When I was in Boston, this is when like those sip and sees and sipping. Like you paint and sips. Those were really big back then. So I decided I wanted to do it. I did a DIY event. So and I was creating earrings. So I'd have all the materials and everything you need, and people would come and they would pay like $20. You get a glass of wine or champagne, and you'd also be able to make earrings.
Oh, that's
and
nice.
That was like my first kind of like business. And I was back in Boston, probably like 2015.
That's a real like hands-on engaging business.
Yeah.
How'd you guys stop that? Like what? Like that seems like something that like is fun. Like I want to do that here now that you said that.
No, honestly, I don't even know where I came up with the idea. I think it was just kind of like I never wanted to do those paint and sips because I was like, I don't want this random painting. Where am I going to put it in my home? So I was like, I don't want to do that. So I just came up with the idea of earrings and kind of like kept that. And then obviously moving here, I kind of like slipped my mind of so many other things to do, but that was definitely how it started.
So you came here and then you stumbled on interior design.
No, not at all.
Okay, take me back again.
Take you back. So after undergrad, I always knew I wanted to be interior designer since I was in 6th grade.
Yes.
Which sounds crazy, but I did.
That's not crazy, entrepreneurs. It's not crazy. If you listen to our episodes, it's a very common thing that the entrepreneurs say the same thing. Like, this is where I wanted to be.
Definitely wanted to be. When I was in school, it was like girls versus boys. And I was like, this is so cool. Like, I want to do this. Interior design seems like a really cool idea for me. So I went to when I got to the obviously age I went to when I was younger, I used to always go to Home Depot, and this is when they used to have like paint samples, which I still think they still have paint samples. So I used to collect all the paint samples, and I had a drawer at home full of paint samples. And then what I would do is I would draw out a room and then put like what paint would be good in that space.
Got it.
This is 6th and 7th grade. So I kind of knew I wanted to do interior design, and I actually did by the time I getting up to college, or now like I did my whole college essay was about space.
Yeah.
Didn't go to school for interior design when I was in undergrad because I didn't want to go to an art school. I was like, art schools are like weird. Like I was a cheerleader in high school, and I'm used to like that whole culture. So I was like, I don't want to go to art school. So I didn't go to art school, but I did go to liberal arts school. Also had a full scholarship. Shout out to being smart.
Yeah, gotta get them grades. I definitely did not have a full scholarship, but shout out to them grades.
So after that, after getting for undergrad, I just knew that I had to go to grad school for interior design because I knew that's what I wanted to do. So I was like, my senior year, I kind of picked up some interior design courses because I took them off campus just to make sure I get my portfolio right and figure out what I want to do. So I did go to school for interior architecture, got my master's in interior architecture, and that's when it like.
And what exactly is interior architecture?
So interior architecture is really just a fancy word for interior design. But also interior design is also not interior decorating.
Yes.
For all you people out there, those are two different words. Those are two different actions. I really focus on space. That's the main thing, is space and making sure it's functional and making sure that, people can move around in the space. And there's a lot more to it than just like picking out nice furniture and cute colors.
Yeah. And so does the architecture side come into like even the aesthetics of how the building is designed and built and stuff like that?
Yeah, like I think the thing about the interior architecture, like interior design is such a new major slash like it's a more of on the new side of being of a career that I focus all on architecture. That's when I went to school. That's all I learned about everything was architects. You didn't learn about designers.
My 2 college roommates were architects, and I didn't really understand the landscape of the different types of buildings until I started seeing their renderings. Yeah. And then I'm like, I'm going to all these different cities and I'm seeing certain cities I'm not going to name are like, this city's ugly. But if you go to a city like a Boston that's been there a while.
You see like the different eras and the different.
You see it.
So yeah, for me, it was like super cool just kind of like studying architecture, but like knowing I still had to focus on the interiors and making sure they were functional and making sure that, a bathroom, the handle's on the right side, not the left-hand side, and like everything you learn to get down to the bones of making it functional. I think a lot of things people don't think about, like interiors and how they're actually like created, and just same thing with like architecture. You don't know architecture.
So then you stumbled in the interior, and then you realized you loved it. But what was that like aha moment where you were like, oh, I could make money doing this?
I think is that really interesting because I feel like, when being so young and knowing what I wanted to do as far as like the actual, like I was like, I know I'm an interior designer, but I didn't know what that actually meant, what that looked like. And for me, it was not just this like quick aha moment I had. Like I had to experience different things to realize that I did not like them.
Yeah.
So for me, it wasn't this like, I started off, I was doing, commercial, and I was doing like offices and stuff, a lot of office design, and I was like, this is so boring, and I'm like such a creative person. I was like, this is not it, like this is not fun at all. I don't want to do this. And then from there I've like moved on to doing residential, and I was like, oh, this is babysitting, and I don't want to babysit nobody. And people are very opinionated, and I completely agree. Why? You're living in this space, so you love that space. And I was like, ooh, this isn't really for me either. So from that, I was able to kind of keep filtering down. And I feel like even every day I'm learning more different things about like what I really love about what I do, and really trying to focus even more on doing exactly what I want to do.
Because there's a difference in commercial interior design and home interior design.
Absolutely.
And like kitchen interior design. Like I happen to be married to an interior designer, so I know those phrases now, but I didn't know this before. Like I really thought it was like, okay, anybody could just pick stuff for any space, but like that is not the case. Like you have to know your types of space to know how certain things are going to function properly, certain things are going to be around. So within that, and every space is different. How do you go about finding your clientele?
I think that's still always a challenge for me of really figuring out like who's gonna work best. 'Cause I think it's this idea of like clients. You want to get clients, but you also want to get clients that like you guys could work well together. And that's really important for me. I don't want to just take someone's money. I want to make sure that I'm the best candidate for you, and then you're the best candidate for me, because it's such a partnership. And I think for me, I've been on the lucky side, I guess I'd call it.
You've never had a bad client?
I will absolutely not say that.
Like the clients that call you all the time.
I've just gotten lucky to the way I got my foot in the door of being a full-time entrepreneur. I've been very lucky in that case. And
shout out to the full-time entrepreneurs, man. I'm gonna if I had an applause button, I'll press it right now. But it's not easy. It's not easy. But working isn't easy also, because you have to. The hard parts of working is you have to abide by someone else's schedule. True. And you have to mentally get in a space to work at a certain time every single day.
Very true.
Where if you're an entrepreneur, whatever you're making, it's going to come however it's going to come for you. To me, it's the personality type, but I've talked to enough entrepreneurs, half-apreneurs, and like people that's like, nah, I'm just straight working. Corporate, give me a job, to understand, like, there's different strokes for different folks. And like you being an entrepreneur in this world, navigating through clientele, how then after those clients do you get to it? How do you make sure that relationship stays maintained and stays in good standing so that you can continue to grow?
I think that goes back to picking the right clients, not just letting your clients pick you, but also picking your clients.
Pick your clients.
And
you can fire them too.
Right. That's very true. So I think when you're able to create a really good relationship and you guys have a good understanding of what each person's role is and how you guys are going to work together, it opens up more opportunities. Like I was very fortunate enough to, when I became a full-time entrepreneur, was during the pandemic. And my clients opened up 3 different spaces during the pandemic.
Wow.
So most people obviously were trying to figure out work. I had a lot of work at that point because they're like, we're opening up this, we're doing this next. And because I was able to work with them so seamlessly, they were just like, this is the next project we're doing. This is the next project. Mo is like, oh, this is Mo. She's our designer. There was no question of like, we're looking at other people. Maybe the price is too high. It was just like, this is Mo. She's our designer. And once again, having those relationships is so important in this, in any industry, really. But
in any industry, and building relationships is important. So how do you go about, because you say you're from Boston, and then you moved to LA, how do you go about networking and just picking and choosing? Because it's really important to find the right fit, because you may not even like want to deal with a client.
Absolutely. I think for me, starting off when I first got here, I was full-time. I worked for someone else, and I was really just focused on meeting, I ain't doing this. besides, like, I'm good with this, but I was really focused on like meeting new people, and I'm really a friendly person, so I just had created really good friend groups. And one thing I'm really serious about is friends. Like I curate friends, so I would say very immaculate. Like every friend I have, I hold them accountable. I expect them to hold me accountable as being a friend.
Shout out to your friends.
They're real ones. Yeah. So because of that, some opportunities come from friendships, like people being...
Who are your 3 best friends?
3 best friends in LA or just in life?
Just period. 3 best friends.
Would be...
I'm putting you on the spot right now. I'm putting you on the spot right. You said anything.
No, it's cool. I would say 3 of my best friends. My best friend, Shauna, I've been best friends with her since middle school, since the 6th grade. One of my really good friends, Ashley, we actually studied interior design together. And then one of my good friends I learned in the workforce, Shanice. And
shout out to those friends.
It's actually funny because none of them are actually here, but still very much my support team. So.
Got it. Yeah. I'm not going to put you more on the spot. I was about to hit you with the fuck, Chuck, or Mary, but I'm not going to hit you hard on those because I don't want you to chuck the wrong friend and she'd be mad.
Let's not do that. Because I value all my friends to like such a degree.
It's important to have good friends in business.
And my friends are super they work together. It's very seamlessly. It's like when I have anything, and I have friends dating back to kindergarten. I have really good friends from that. So
it's important to have good friends, because I know that saying like you are the 5 people around you, but if the people around you are organic, good people, it's not about how much money they have.
Oh, for sure.
It's about the type of person they have. They'll continue to encourage you to be great. There's a difference in going to your friends and saying, hey, I have my business and this is what I'm doing. They're like, oh, Mo has her little business going. Like, there's a difference in saying, okay, well, what do we need to do? Right. How do we help? How do we support you? And having that village is important when you are a full-time entrepreneur, because things comes at you so many different ways all the time, and you have struggles. So through that, what have been some of your hurdles that you've had to go through that you felt were like, oh man,
going through hurdles, don't stop. One thing I will say before
more money, more taxes,
literally more problems. One thing I will say, I've been very fortunate enough to have an older sister who's a full-time entrepreneur as well.
Mentorship.
So that's been amazing, because when I'm like, am I sure I'm gonna do this? I can look at my sister and see, like, I know the struggle that she's gone through, the event, everything she's been through, I've been there with her. So it's easy for me to see and being like, okay, I'm kind of at this point. Yeah. And she was here at this point, and then now I'm looking at her on the other side.
Does she know she's your mentor?
Of course. I mean, that's something I would say it's like peer mentorship. And that's one thing I was always really jealous of, like, people who had mentors. Go on a quick tangent, but I was always like, I don't have any mentors. I don't have any older people that are doing things. I want mentors. And then I had to take a step back and realize, like, I just have a lot of good peer mentors. Yeah. And, you know, I think that there's a lot of value in that as well. Mm-hmm. And once I realized that, like, the people around me are my mentors, I kind of fell back on that. And I do have other people that are my mentors. I don't necessarily know them. You may not know my name.
We have to pick the best traits from people that we know. And then even when that comes to our mentor, it's like they don't have to know us. Exactly. We could just kind of follow them. Like I always say, like when I was growing up, like I looked at like Diddy and I was like, oh yeah, like I could do that. Like he's cool. He's doing businesses and stuff. And he didn't know that.
Yeah,
you know?
Of course.
But I took whatever I needed to take from that and then applied it, and took whatever I needed to take from this person, applied it, and then like whatever teacher I met along the way, whoever I met along the way, just took stuff, because it's important to have that mentorship to grow. And then also the hardest part is to start.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
So how did you just say, okay, you jumped in a pandemic, you were getting full-time clients. Besides just saying, yes, I can do the job, how did you start?
The way I started was definitely, I actually LLC my business in 2018.
So tell me this, how did you get started?
So like I was saying, like I started my business actually in 2018. I LLC'd my business. Shout out to one of my really close friends. He was like, you really should do interior design. If you want to do it, just do it. And I was like, you know what?
What's it mean to LLC your business?
It means
casually threw that out there. But
well, I'm sorry. LLC just means that you're like not as legal. What is it? Limit liability company, which basically means I took a long time to figure out if I should LLC, if I should S corp, like trying to figure out what was most important for my specific business. But because I have an interior design business and that does come with liability, I was like, the best thing for me would be to LLC my business.
And to go deeper in that, is creating a new entity.
Yes.
So you can have 2 tax IDs to be able to file on that taxes and then file for your business, because a lot of time when you're a sole proprietor, everything falls on you and the liability falls on you, and liability is one thing you do not want on you.
Is liability.
So you start the LLC.
I started the LLC and literally didn't do any business for like 2 years. Like zero, nothing, zip, nada. Like didn't do anything. I was I started my business of doing residential, knowing I didn't even like residential. So when it came to like looking for residential clients, I was absolutely not looking for residential because I didn't even like residential.
Yeah, you just doing it.
So it was like one of those things, and I was like, okay. And it was one of those things where I like hated my job so bad. When I say hated my job, I like every single day I prayed that I would get out of this job. I was like applying to other jobs. Every single day I was having anxiety attacks for hours. Like the whole day I would just have anxiety the entire day. Yeah. I'm not even a like anxious person at all, but they were just stressing me out. Like they were really trying to bring a sister down, literally.
Yeah, that's tough. That's tough.
Is it? So for literally just about 2 years, or a little 2.5 years, I dealt with that. Was like, I hate it here. And I prayed every night, like, Lord, please get me out of this situation. And then the pandemic happened, and then they laid off some people, and I didn't get laid off. And I was like, Lord, please, like, give me away, give me away. And then they did another round of layoffs. And they actually left my entire team, all the designers basically from where I was. And at that time, I literally that night I was like prayed, and I was like, Lord, if this is a sign to like finally fly and finally figure this out for myself. And at that point, I already had this client. Yeah. They asked me to do work on the side.
You good.
So I already had this one client, and I was like, Lord, if this is a sign to be a full-time entrepreneur, then like please give me the sign. And honestly, it was like at that moment I was like, this is the sign. Like I unfortunately, as much as I wanted to like throw on the desk, like I give my 2 weeks, I hate y'all.
Yeah.
Go off.
Like how
that was just not my story. And I had to realize that like this was a moment that God created for me, and he said this is what you got to do. And at that moment I had to fly. It was like,
I always tell people when they stop, like when they quit a job or get fired, I always tell them congratulations.
Yeah.
Because it's like okay, like they don't need they don't deserve your energy
at all. And for me, it was funny because like people were crying. Some people have been with the company forever, and people were sad. And the moment I found out that they were actually going to lay me off, I got up. I put on my Sunday's best outfit. I came in with a smile from ear to ear, looked like flawless, and was like, and because this was all over Zoom, of course. Like, unfortunately, we have to lay you off. And I'm actually smiling. They're probably like, what is, like, you don't have a job, ma'am. Like, and I was like, thank you so much, guys. And I knew at that moment, I was like, this is God telling you to finally fly, and you got to do it. Like, you've waited a long time. You've prayed for this every single day, and your moment's here, so take it.
I got fired one time. My boss was named Paul. Shout out to Paul for firing me. He literally told me, he was like, you're going to do bigger things than this, Joe. I think this is bigger than you. And I was like, I appreciate it. I shouldn't have got fired, but whatever. He fired me. But I remember when he fired me, I went home, and I was in Texas. And I came to LA home, and I was like, oh, I'm good. Like, because when you get down to it, being an entrepreneur is about supporting your lifestyle. If you have an expensive, heavy lifestyle and you like spending money, then go get a job.
Yeah.
If you want to build something for your life, a career, a lifestyle forever, over time, then start a business, start a career. Because then you can allocate that money for later. There's certain things as an entrepreneur, it may seem glamorous, but you may sacrifice a certain meal, or if you go to a meal, it's going to be a business meal. You know, you may not buy these certain pairs of shoes because that's a whole situation. Like, I remember, you know, saying like, oh, I could get this table, but I could get this laptop, and this laptop's gonna make me 10 tables more. Like,
right, and that's important to realize.
You have to be able to do that, and the finance part is the most important, because you have to fully decide. You know, I'm an entrepreneur. I take care of my family, and it's like every choice I make as an entrepreneur affects them, and it's like it's no paycheck coming.
That's a really big responsibility. I mean, it's just me, and I'm like,
so how do you find that groove where you're able to manage the financial side of things so that you protect it and you're on a, because you're looking at the scale now.
Yeah, I think for me, it's
and outsource.
It's still very much a checks and balance and trying to figure out what works for me. I think, to your point, there are times when you're like, okay, I got 3 checks coming in this month. Another time it's like, I got a check coming in this month. Like, how am I going to figure this out? So I think for me, I'm still trying to balance. This is like 2 years in. Yeah. I'm still trying to balance of what's the best thing for me and trying to figure that out. And I think people try to make it sound like you're an entrepreneur, money just comes rolling in. It's that is not what's happening. And if it's not like, if you don't even have personal bills, you have also like business bills. There's so many bills and there's so many responsibilities and so many things. And sometimes you have to decide, okay, either I'm going to put the money for this program or I'm just going to pay for this bill. And I can't do the extra activity or I can't do this. And I think for me, like I said, I don't have the recipe. Yeah. I'm still cooking up the recipe.
But you're doing
trying.
It.
For sure. But I'm still trying. I'm still trying to figure out like what's best for me and realizing like, you know, at some points, like when things are slow, it's like, how can I offset the slow moments, bring in more revenue, or like what does that mean to me? So I think for the idea of, there's just this one recipe and everyone's just like money and it's gonna flow and you don't know, and it's like, nah, it gets to your point, you're deciding like, do I want to do this or I would do that? I think for me it's realizing, I think I've always set myself up to, because of the lifestyle I'm used to, I've always done whatever I wanted to do. Man. And I've been fortunate enough when I was young, I started working when I was like 16. Yeah. I had 0 bills, no responsibilities. My mom didn't even make me pay for my phone bill. Like nothing at all.
You got to value your time.
So I had 3 jobs. Zero, no reason to have 3 jobs. Like, no one was telling me to work at all. I had 3 jobs when I was like 16, and I was bringing in like a lot of money for a 16-year-old. No business bringing the money I was. So I thought I would like, when I didn't want to do laundry, I just go buy new clothes. Like, I just like, whatever, I don't care. Like, I just had money. I was just rolling in the dough. But I think now, because I'm so used to the mentality of doing what I want to when I want to do it, I had to reprogram myself to be like, no, Mo, you can't take that extra vacation.
And you have
to
work ethic, though. You have to work
for sure. But I think it's just one of those things that you still have to like remind yourself that like you can't just do whatever you, especially for someone like me who is used to doing what I want, to your point, doing whatever I want to do. I had to tell myself like, no, you don't get to go on another vacation this year. Like, you've gone on 2. I think that's good. So I think
I would say what I've been able to do is make my work vacation. And I mix it in, and like then it becomes a little bit more simple, because you only need 2 or 3 days not to do nothing if you're a productive person. You only need, like, after 2 or 3 days, it's like, oh no, I'm kind of over this. I'm over this. Like, I want to be stimulated. I mean, and like, we did a trip to Tokyo to kind of do that, where we had fun, but we also learn at the same time. So like, I've come to the conclusion, even with my family now, like when I travel, like I'm gonna work on this amount of time, but then like there's other stuff I want to do, stuff I want to absorb, and then like getting the space mentally to be able to really produce at a high level. You have to take those trips and get out there.
You have to take breaks, but I had to also tell myself I lived a very luxurious. I lived a very luxurious 20s. My 20s, I would just,
as you should,
whatever I wanted to do, I would do it. I like had the money. I had zero responsibilities. I didn't have anything to rent, car, nothing. I had nothing to worry about. So what if I wanted to go to? My friends were like, oh, let's go to Trinidad. Let's go to like whatever it was. I'm like, done. Like,
as you should.
And I'm very grateful, because it taught me a lot about culture. It taught me a lot about being a very world traveler and being able to experience so many great things. But I also, because of that, I have to tell myself it's okay to also sit down and it's time to like, and I think it's like that sacrifice. And I think it's really hard when you put yourself in such a place of always doing what you want to do to then get to the place where you have to actually like, it's sacrifice season. Like, you can't just be out here just living life the way you want to.
Or you can get clients when you travel.
Yeah, but I mean, you still got to get the clients.
You still got to get the clients.
That's the thing. And the thing about being an entrepreneur no one talks about is that, like, if I'm not working, no one's working.
No one's working.
Like, that's the part where, if I decide to take a day off, it's like, yeah, people are like, oh, you create your own schedule. It's so great. Nah. But if I'm not working, then no one is working. Like, no one around me is working for me, especially because I'm at the point where I'm only working by myself.
And you got to be disciplined to your schedule.
Yeah. Too. So it's like, oh, yeah, I could take a month off, but I don't know where that income for that month I took off is going to come and who's going to be working for me and what that looks like. So I think for me, I'm definitely like, okay, I gotta find more of a. I'm really working out the kinks of a balance for being able to do those both, because I know that it's a sacrifice and you gotta put in 100,000 hours to be where you want to be and get where you need to go.
You gotta put them out 100,000 hours.
You definitely have to put those in. So
we got Moniqua here, and credible interior designer. Come check out some of her work. Check it out. Where can we find you?
You can find me on Instagram, Moshi Interiors. You can also go to my website, moshiinteriors.com.
Yeah.
And I'm just working interior spaces, doing commercial spaces. I'm kind of tapping into even more of experiential designs for different companies and corporations. And I'm just really out here just working. And
talking back to that 16-year-old girl, what are you telling her now so she can get prepared for her entrepreneur journey?
I would just tell her to continue to believe in herself. Do not listen to what anyone else has to say. You know exactly what you want to do, and don't stop for anyone. And I think it's a hard thing, because family is so important to a lot of people, and same thing with me, and your friends are like, can you do this? And it's like, you have to believe that you have every single tool you need, and things will come as the way they're supposed to come. You can't rush. Oh my God, they will. You cannot rush. You cannot rush this process. I mean, it will be frustrating and it'll be extremely hard, and I won't say it gets easier, because it's still not easy for me. Yeah. But you have everything you need to.
It's a constant grind.
You have everything you need to be exact. You are never somewhere you're not supposed to be. You're always exactly on the journey you're supposed to be, and it's going to take a while, and it's nothing easy. But what I like to think about is I think about Michelle Obama's book, Becoming.
Okay.
And it's about becoming. It's not, you're not there. You're never really going to get there.
Shout out to
It's
Michelle.
about nonstop of becoming. You're becoming the best version of yourself, and you just have to continue to go in that direction. So,
got it.
Little Mo, you got this.
You got this, Lil Mo. So this episode is sponsored by Affluent Solution and produced by Affluent Solution. We offer entrepreneur toolkits where people can text, website hosts, send out emails to leads,
Love it.
send out social media campaigns, monitor ads and things like that. Platform starts at $97 a month. There's a free trial if you go on. No promo code, nothing like that. Just go to affluentsolution.com and you'll be able to do that. And thank you, Mo. This was good insight for our audience. We definitely have to do this again as we dive in, see what kind of questions we have.
Definitely.
But I think you gave some good insights, and thank you for coming.
Thanks. Check me out.